the 8 degrees of transformation, or as I would like to say, the 8 degrees of reality. Now, why is this important to kind of go over here? Because when I talk about transformation and the 8 degrees of transformation, the 8 degrees of reality, I want you guys to understand that we're all living in one world, but we're all living in different realities. We're all living in different frequencies. Our perspective is consistently being changed. Okay, I want you to understand that the way that I view the world is completely different than, like, let's say, a homeless person. The way that you view the world, let's say, might be completely different than how a billionaire views it. We all have different beliefs. We all have different ideas. Okay, and obviously the way that we perceive things changes the world around us, right? You know, your perception just in general, guys, I want you to understand, changes reality. Okay, because and this has been scientifically proven by some of the greatest minds in the world, and we've talked about this before, right? Your perception creates the entire reality that you are living in today. You've chosen that reality, whether you consciously or subconsciously know it. So that means you should be able to take responsibility for that reality. You see, by proven science, it's been said that for every thought that you have, there's always a set of energy. Okay, that energy is then transferred and projected by you and for you, which I've talked about, is known as a frequency. Okay, everything in the world has frequency here. So as we break this down here, like, think of the table, okay, think of the car that you're in, think of even yourself. Everything is vibrating. Atoms are consistently vibrating, okay? And what makes up atoms? Protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. An electron will appear and disappear due to a conscious virus. It stumped scientists for years. An electron is what powers up the atom. So electrons bounce in and out of reality, which is what has been proven here. But to go back to the point, as these atoms vibrate, they create a frequency, and you operate at a certain frequency. You know, the average, I think it's like a human being operates at like a frequency of like 100 or 200 hertz per whatever. And when you die, okay, it's because you stop vibrating at that 100 to 200 hertz. You start to vibrate at a lower frequency. And most people that die, okay, or are on their way to death, you could actually measure this. They actually start to vibrate at a lower frequency. Okay. And, you know, Thomas Edison and Einstein even said that frequency by man or frequency by woman is one of the strongest forces in the entire universe. It has the ability to bend and defy matter and gravity at all times when it's tapped into. Now, if you think of that real quick, gravity is the only thing in the world that has the ability to bend light, okay? And because of that, light is found in every single object in the universe and in the entire world. So just by default, what Thomas Edison, what Einstein was saying, what Napoleon Hill has all been saying is that this means that anything the mind of a man, of what he can conceive or believe to achieve, okay, he could essentially have. Okay, and some of the greatest thinkers in the world have understood this, okay? They understand this completely. The way that they think, the way they perceive things are completely different, okay? They are so conscientious of how they think. They don't want any type of negativity to go into their spectrum. Think of like Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison had no idea about when he was asked of like the light bulb. They asked Thomas Edison, you failed like 10,000 times before you had the light bulb. Like, why was it that you continued to keep moving forward? And what he told people is, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 times not to find the light bulb, okay, until I found it. Okay, why is that important? It's all perception and perspective here. That's what we're talking about. The world's greatest thinkers of the world, okay, you might have more talent, you might have more skills, but you're not able to think like them. Their thinking power, okay, is beyond man. And I would like to say this. I had a mentor one time tell me, John, it's not just about, okay, what you think or how you perceive reality, but what is that perception of reality? What is the strength of that perception? Because success, when you go into a room with people, success belongs to the person with the strongest grip of reality, the strongest level-headedness of that perception of reality. So how strong is that perception? For some of you guys, your self-image and your perception might be down here, okay? And that's why you're stuck at, like, let's say a 20 to 50K a year income. And while you're looking for that 50K a month income, you're trying to get your head to, okay, I want to be able to make 50K a month. I want to be able to make 100K a month. I want to be able to make 200K a month. If you want to make 100 to 200K a month, just from my experience, guys, because one of my biggest months is 200K a month. So I could tell you what was the difference in thinking. The difference in thinking of a 200K a month versus a 5K a month or 10K a month is something very simple. It is your thought process, okay, and it is your method of operation and your grip of reality. How strong is that grip? Because success belongs to the person with that strongest grip of reality. Now, as we go through this call here, we're going to talk about the different levels of reality that people are living here. Okay, so I want you to look at this scale here, okay, because there's 8 different levels of reality that people are living in. The first level is the lowest level, which are people that are living at the lowest frequency, the lowest vibration that we were talking about, that Thomas Edison, Einstein, and also Napoleon Hill, okay, and Glenn Clark, and all these people talk about. Okay, that is the lowest level of frequency. That is called apathy. Okay, apathy. From there, eventually, as people increase their frequency, increase their vibration, or increase their perception of reality, and stop operating at that lower scale, that lower thinking, that quote unquote, in simple terms, lower mindset, okay, they move on to, like, let's say, fear. They start to live in a reality based off fear, and that is their primal state. That is their operational state, their consistent, constant state of fear. From there, they move on from the 3rd level of reality into the 4th level of reality, which is an anger state, okay? And all of us here live in different pockets, but I want you to understand this. We're all living in one of these levels of reality. And because we are jumping from pocket to pocket, like let's say with a certain skill, like let's say when it comes to me in business, let's say you might be living in like purpose. But when it comes to, like, let's say your relationship or with a partner, you might be living in apathy or grief. When it comes to, let's say, your family, you might be living in desire. Let's say when it comes to yourself, your own self-image, how you look at yourself, you might be living either in grief or apathy, or you might be living in love. So all of us here are operating at different realities. Reality number 4 is anger. So what you'll notice is the sequence of these realities, the lower realities, apathy, grief, and fear, you'll notice they're different colors, okay, on the slideshow here. Okay, as you go higher, you'll see courage. So courage is the 5th reality. When somebody is at a level of transformation, they're at that 5th natural sequence of reality, and then they go and jump into the level of desire, that frequency or that reality. Then they live in this purpose state, and these are like some of the greatest minds in the world who like operate from within, draw state from within, and they love to give value to the world. They believe they're making a difference in the world. Then you have like love, right? Which is like the highest level. Like these are like your Gandhis and Jesus figures that got to this level of reality where they just accepted love and everything. So let's talk about the 8 levels of reality. Let's talk about the first level. Okay, so apathy. So people that live in apathy, they're always asking the questions like they're living in this deep fear. They're living in this deep ashamed reality. Okay, they're kind of depressed. Okay, these are people that kind of want to kill themselves. They're on the point of just giving up with no return. These people will say something like, what's the point of all this? What's the point of making money? Hey, bro, what's the point of like becoming motivated, like becoming successful? What's the point of doing any of this? It doesn't matter anyway. They're living in a state of numbness. They're in this state of coping behavior. Okay, all they're doing is coping. They're talking about their problems, their beliefs. They're coming from such a lower selfish state, because I believe these are people that are depressed. I believe that people that are depressed are selfish human beings. I'm going to say that one more time. Depression, 99.9% of depression doesn't exist. Maybe 1% actually does. Anybody else that says depression exists just wants attention. Depression is not real. It's an emotion. Okay, it's a current feeling at the current moment. Okay, but the majority of depression isn't real. Okay, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys, it isn't. Now, certain chemical imbalances in the brain that can cause sadness exist, but depression alone, as throughout in human nature, doesn't really fucking exist. Okay, and like I'm trying to keep this, I'm trying to be bluntly honest with you guys. The reason people get depressed is because they hit such a lower state of frequency, and that's combined with a selfish behavior. Because if you're depressed, you have to be massively selfish, because all you care about is yourself. Okay, you don't care about your loved ones. You don't care about the people around you. All you care about is yourself. All you care about is me, 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 me. And you're in this coping behavior. You're in this taking behavior where you're feeling sad about yourself. Do you understand how selfish you have to be to feel sad about yourself? You have to be an incredibly selfish human being considering the fact that you have family, you have so millions of things to be grateful for, okay? And people that live in this apathy state, okay, I'm talking about apathy here. They believe in this state that nothing's going to work anyway. They have this nothing's going to work type of attitude, okay? They think they're terrible, the world's terrible, all that stuff, okay? So that's apathy. That's the lower state. What tends to happen is when people finally, because this is a tiring state, you can only be depressed for so long. Anybody here ever met a depressed person? And they're like, oh my God, I got out of depression. It's like, dude, they were never depressed. They just had that feeling and emotion. And then eventually you get tired of that depression. Okay. You get tired of feeling that depression. Okay. So they move on to what is the second stage? That is grief. Okay. So they move on to the state of grief. Okay. So after they move from apathy, they move into victimhood. And this is actually where, if I was a psychologist and I was dealing with somebody that's depressed, the best advice I would give them that live in that reality of apathy is the advice of like, hey, look, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's the government's fault. It's not your fault. It's your parents' fault. You'd actually be surprised. It's better for somebody to live as a victim in grief, okay, than for somebody to live in apathy. It's better to take somebody from apathy and tell them it's not your fault. It's the government's fault. It's Trump's fault. Trump's a racist. I love hearing that shit on social media. You'll see all these people talk about race, saying that Trump's a racist, talk about how the Republican Party is a racist. These people are living in grief. These people are living in the second degree of reality, the second lowest grief level of reality. You'll also see people that are sexist. They're like, oh my God, Trump hates gays, whatever. These people are living in grief, okay? You'll also see people that are talking about them being immigrants, what happened with their family, this happened to them, victimhood. Victim behavior is the second lowest level of reality that people are living in. So all they're focused on is how it's not their fault, okay? It's not their fault. And people that live here, they tell themselves it's something outside of them holding them back, when in reality, it's the inside of them holding them back. It's easier, and it's a easier coping mechanism for the human brain, because the human brain is not there to help you. The human brain is there to just try to take the easy way out for you to survive, okay, for you to cope. Because the human brain, when it identifies with victimhood, you know, it's so funny. People are like, oh my God, this person's racist, this person's racist. Okay, this is the reason this has happened to me is because I'm this race. People that live in that victimhood, they've identified with that. So they will fight for that victimhood. They'll fight with that grief. And the brain is so powerful that it'll identify with it. And if you tell them, bro, you're not a victim, it's not Trump's fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not this. It's not your race, bro. They will fight you to the death of it because they've identified now with that victimhood. And what they don't realize is they're reinforcing that victimhood, and they're reinforcing that reality where now they feel like everything around them, they're a victim. They're a victim now with politics. They're a victim now with money. They're a victim with everything. And this is why people like this never make money. This is why people like this stay broke. This is why people like this don't elevate. Okay. Then you have the third reality. Okay. The third reality is going to be fear. Okay. Fear. Dude, I'm like pumped the hell up on I'm really pumped up right now on Celsius here. I can feel my heart like just going off here. Okay, so people that live in fear. So this is the third degree of reality. Okay, this is the third degree of reality. Okay, so people, after they get tired of being depressed and living in that reality, after they get tired of being a victim, because eventually, you know, people start to realize, well, maybe it's not Trump's fault. Okay, maybe it's not the government's fault. Maybe it's not my race. Maybe it's not my sexuality. Maybe it's not where I grew up. Maybe it's not how much, maybe whatever happened to me when I grew up. Maybe it's not because my parents did X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's not because of this or this, whatever situation they sell themselves on, whatever that is. Okay, whatever they do that, they finally tell themselves in self-reflection, and they start to challenge themselves, and they face this they start to face internal issues. They're like, well, they start to have self-reflection. Well, maybe it's not my fault, man. Like, what am I really thinking about? Like, maybe I need to fix me. You ever see that like Instagram meme where it's like Future in front of the mirror? And it's like, yo, everybody else is crazy. There's no way I'm crazy. Like, they're in denial. And then like when you're in that third degree, you're finally coming to that reflection of like, hey, maybe I need to like face some of these internal issues. And I want to, but I'm scared to cross that line. And there's a lot of people that live in fear when it comes to building a new skill. They're like, hey, look, I want to learn how to trade. I want to learn how to build a business here in Airbnb. I want to learn this credit. I want to learn how to become successful. I want to learn sales. I want to learn marketing, whatever it is. I want to do this, but it's scary as hell. Okay, I don't know what my friends are going to think about me. I don't know what my family's going to think about me. They're going to call me stupid. Okay, they're going to, I want to post on social media, but people are going to call me dumb. They're going to think I'm crazy. They want to do something, but they're scared with building a skill. They're scared with pursuing that business. They're scared with whatever that is, okay? So now they're living in this level of self-reflection where they have to now challenge these internal issues. And they're now figuring out, they're trying to battle now all the scars, all the trauma that they've had inside their lives. And as this internal battle happens, okay, people jump from the third degree of transformation into the fourth degree of reality. The fourth degree of reality that the majority of people, I also want to tell you guys this, 99% of people are living below, 90% of people are living on the first 4 levels of reality. Okay, right? You can write that down on your sheet of paper. The first 90% of people are living in the first 4 levels of reality. They're living in apathy, they're living in grief, they're living in fear, and they're living in anger. 90% of people in the world. So if you meet somebody that's not in that reality, you can tell they're a little bit more awake. Okay. So the fourth degree, these are people that are fed up now. And it happens after a while when you'll see like transformation happen to people where they've been so fucking indoctrinated from the system and they'll be like, dude, I'm fed up. I'm not a victim. Okay. Okay. It's not because of my race, color, creed, background, whatever, how I grew up. Okay. I no longer feel depressed about myself. Okay. I'm no longer in fear. I'm sick of it. I'm not going to let fear do something to me because fear sometimes, what it does, it causes analysis paralysis. Okay, it doesn't let you move, and they start to get very frustrated for not taking action. And sometimes this can be dangerous too because a lot of times you have people that get angry. They're sometimes angry that they haven't taken action. You ever know the person that was going to start that business like a year ago, they still haven't started it, or you have that person that, like, let's say was going to do something they said they were going to do like 2 months ago and they still didn't do it. Same concept here. And they start to create self-attacks. So people that live in this reality, they start to beat themselves up because they didn't do it in the past. Like maybe if I had done this, or if I would have known this, it would have been better. That's their thought process behind this. Anger. Okay. Well, that was my idea. Okay. I wanted to do that business. That was my idea first. This person took it. That's people living in anger. They're beating themselves up because they didn't do it in the past. Well, this was not just my idea. This was, I wanted to do that. Or screw that person. They talk shit about other people. It's because they're angry about themselves. They really just have no idea what to do. Like I said, people project, and a lot of their reality is just a reflection of what's going inside. Okay. So then the fifth degree. Okay. This is where I would say 10% of people in the world, or like 5% of people start to live in. Like I said, 90% of the world live in the first 4 levels of reality. Apathy, okay? Apathy, victimhood, fear, and anger. The 5th level of reality, or when it comes to transformation or whatever skill it is that you're looking to in your life, business, relationship, whatever it is like courage, okay? So the 5th degree is people that are saying, hey, look, like, fuck this. I'm fed up. You only live once. I got to decide right now. Okay, this is when you decide to become bold. You decide to take action. And what tends to happen is ego tends to kick in a little bit more. Okay, you start to say, dude, I can do this. Okay, I'm that dude. I'm him. I'm her. I can do this thing. And this is when you start to now reject a lot of the issues that, let's say, you had internally. You start to fix it. And this is where you start to tell yourself, like, screw that, man. Like, I can do this. Like, F this, bro. Like, I'm this person. Like, F this. Like, I can do this. Like, screw that person. This person has less talent. I can do it. Ego starts to kick in, and it starts to push you now to start taking massive, massive action, because you're like, dude, I can do this. You start to build up courage. You start thinking less, start taking courage. Like, let's say when it came to, at least my business, when it came to marketing for the first time in my life, I said, screw this. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to have fear anymore. I'm going to go all in with the business. I don't care what is going to happen. I don't care if I have to put my credit card in like 20K in debt. I don't care if I have to put my credit card in 30K in debt. I don't care if I have to go all into the business and travel the world and see what I could do and what I could build. I did that. I remember back in 2016, changed my entire life. By the time I was 21, I was making 30 grand a month. By the time I was 22, I was making 50 grand a month. By the time I was 23, 24, I was making $100,000 a month. And it was with that mindset, just encourage. I was living in courage. I wasn't even living in the next reality. Okay, this reality right here will get you to 10K a month. Okay, this reality right here. Courage will take you to 10K a month. People that are living at people that are making a 6-figure income, they're living in the 5th degree of reality. Okay. So next one, the 6th degree. What is the 6th degree of reality? What is the 6th degree of transformation? What is the 6th degree that we're going to be talking about today? Okay, the 6th degree is going to be focused on, okay, desire. Okay, this is when you start to see that the stuff that you're doing can change and your ego starts to kick in more. You want more. You start to see that the action, you start to get rewarded from the action that you have been taking, and you want more. You start to decide, hey, look, I can probably do this. I can do this. The world starts to open up to you. Okay, and you start believing that you can attain absolutely anything. But this was, understand, a sequence that you built up over time. Eventually, then you go into purpose, okay? And purpose is the 7th degree of reality. And this is when you start to live at like such a higher level. I would say like less than 1% of the world is actually living in this. I would say less than that even. People that live in the 7th degree of reality or transformation purpose, they're motivated a lot more by inspiration rather than desperation. You know, you look at a lot of people and their situation in life right now, they're going so hard, and it's 99% of the time because they need to make ends meet or something happened to them. They're going through a breakup, they're going through a heartache with their business, they're going through something, whatever that is, and that motivation is then pushing them, okay, to become inspired. They're doing things out of desperation, not inspiration. People in the 7th degree of reality, they don't do that. They live in purpose. They're in this thriving behavior versus a coping behavior. The opposite of coping is thriving. People that cope are so focused on themselves, their reality, their selfish taking type of behavior, versus a thriver has so much good within them. They have so much energy that's drawing state from within that they're doing what? They want to give that to the world. You'll actually notice this with people that are like mission workers. They might not have a lot of money. Oh, they might not have a lot of value, quote unquote, monetarily, but a lot of times people confuse like money, like as in like value. People find things that are like things, like monetary things is like valuable. That's not value to all people. You could be a billionaire and there could be a millionaire that's richer than you, or somebody making 6 figures is richer than you. Why? Because they're happier, they have better energy, and they are just living a better lifestyle. And they're living in their purpose, they're living in their drive. You have no idea how many people I've met that are like making millions of dollars right now and they're just fucking depressed. But this is the point. This is the point that I'm talking to you guys about. Okay. People that live in purpose, they're aligning themselves with something bigger than them. Okay. And when it comes to a skill, when it comes to whatever you're doing in an industry, okay, people that are living in the 7th degree here, okay, they are some of the highest, I would say, conscious people of the world. They want to give back to the world. They're living in this thriving behavior. They understand they have so much value. They live in so much abundance. They do not care. They'll give to the world because they know that they're going to get 10 back, 10 times more back. Okay. Then the 8th degree of reality. So the 8th degree of reality is love. Okay. It is love. It is what like the Eurasia people would call it. Like, I think Eurasia, they call it like nirvana. And people that are living in this state of like absolute love, full self-acceptance. Okay. They want to give to the world unconditionally. They believe in love. They love themselves. They love the world. Their reality is filled with love. Okay. They don't look at the world. And, you know, there's a quote, I think, in Bob Proctor's book. It's called like You Were Born Rich. And it's the idea that society had fallen. And I think it's Neville Goddard or Bob Proctor that talks about this. And that the idea is that, you know, when the Garden of Eden was taken away from man, like Adam and Eve, it wasn't that the Garden of Eden was taken away. Garden of Eden was never a physical place. The Garden of Eden was actually a mental place. And when the Garden of Eden was taken away, God took away the ability for us to just see the whole world in just unconditional love. That's like, I think, a Neville Goddard principle, where we lost that ability and now we're looking for that ability. Or we can sometimes tap into that, but we're not going to be living there in a forever state, because before we were living in this forever state of the Garden of Eden. But the Garden of Eden was never a physical place. The Garden of Eden was a spiritual, mental frame. It was a place that you would live in your mind, which is some pretty crazy shit when you think about it. But people that live here are like, I would say, like your Gandhi figures, your Buddha figures, like your Jesus figures here, that were able to kind of just showcase, have full-blown love and acceptance. And that just alters states and alters reality. Okay, so all action, like I said, that person does is made out of contribution, love, and you've created your own, what we like to call heaven on earth. Okay, there's another idea in the book of Thomas that's talked about a lot, that they say, okay, that heaven never existed in the sky. Okay, heaven never existed, okay, in the sea. Like, I think in the book of Thomas, there's a quote that says, like, if your leaders tell you that heaven is in the sky, then the birds will perceive you, which birds will lead you. If they tell you that heaven exists in the sea, then the fish will perceive you. He says, rather, heaven exists within inside of you and outside of you. The more you know yourselves, the more you will know that you are part of the Heavenly Father, and the more that you will grow in love, and the more prosperity you would have. Some quote like that, I'm paraphrasing here. But why is that important? That comes, the book of Thomas, if you look this up here, it's a lost book of the Bible, which talks a lot about the parables of Jesus. You can look this up. The parables of Jesus are the exact quotes, word from word, that Jesus used 2,000 years ago. It was so powerful, they took it out of the original Bible because they debated it and they didn't want people to know what Jesus actually said, word for word. So you can look that up later, but that's the 8th degree of reality. Okay, so let's go backwards here. Let's go backwards, because I know a lot of you guys here, I dropped a lot of shit here. Okay, a lot of stuff in front of you guys. Let's go backwards here now. Okay, I'm having this caffeine rush right now. I need water so bad. Okay, so look, the 8 degrees of reality are the 8 levels of transformation. So let's go back, right? You have apathy, 1. You have grief, number 2. You have fear, number 3. Anger, number 4. Remember, from anger to apathy, 90% of people are living in those 4 levels of reality. Okay, then courage, desire, purpose, and love. The other 4 are living in those higher levels. So now what I want you to do right now on the call, as you're on this call here, is I want you to recognize in what level of reality are you living in. Are you living in apathy? Are you living in courage? Or are you living in love, purpose, or whatever it is? Ask yourself that question. Okay, and then on top of that, you got to recognize that you're going to live in different pockets. Like, some of you guys here might be living in anger. Some of you guys here might be living in purpose. Some of you guys here might be living in grief, or whatever it is. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to elevate from the scale just naturally. Okay, as you elevate the scale of reality naturally, people usually fail because they aim too high. Okay, so like, let's say internally you're living like in apathy, like in this depression state. Like, you're on the call right now and you're depressed as shit. Like, if you're depressed on the call right now and you're living in that reality of apathy, you can't jump to love and purpose. Like, it's actually impossible to do. You can do it. You can be like, I'm going to go live my purpose. What's going to happen is you're going to tend to fall back. And you're going to fall back into apathy because you never went through the stages of reality of grief, fear, anger, and courage to get to desire and then purpose. Okay, and even back and forth. Like, let's say you're living in purpose right now. You know, you're not going to go immediately back down to apathy. You know, you're going to see a sequence of a high and then a sequence of a low. Transformation, I like to say, is cinematic. I think the beautiful thing of transformation is that it happens over time and you'll see it run. So these are the 8 different levels of reality, the 8 levels of transformation here that we're going over. Okay. And what I'm going to do next here is I'm going to talk about 4 things right now that you guys can do to elevate your life, elevate your business here. Okay. In order to get to the next level, because I know we've been on here for about almost 35 minutes. Okay. So these are just 4 things or 3 things that you can do to elevate right now. Okay. First thing in your life, in your business, it's a basic principle. Okay. The reality is, like, in order for you to have more, you just need to do more. Okay. Like when I was, let's say, in sales, because I've been in sales for the majority of my career for like 12 years. Even when I wasn't in like network marketing or affiliate marketing, I was doing sales in retail. I was doing sales at my mom's, at my dad's spot. I was doing sales all the time. Okay. When I was told that I needed to do a specific, hit a specific amount of numbers, I usually aim for double those numbers. So like, let's say I had to take, like, let's say an outbound call, or let's say 100 a day, I would usually hit 200. Or if I had to hit a certain amount of meetings a day, I would hit double those meetings. Okay. I would do double what was required because I wanted to be both efficient and effective. Okay. But I also wanted to ensure that the standards that I had were consistent to what I upheld. So I want you to look at right now your calendar. And a lot of times people, like, they compare their results to other people's results, but compare each other's calendars here. And without considering time and energy invested into anything, just look at your calendars. That's like a lot of what I want you guys to look at is what is the production level and what is bringing you money? What activity is bringing you money? A lot of times I see people focused on stupid bullshit. Okay. Like, let's say if you're in a sales team or you're running a sales business, what is your production? How many calls are you doing? How many appointments? Not just how many appointments have you booked, how many calls or one-on-one calls have you done to close that sale? That right there is productivity. Okay. And it's building something efficient and effective versus, like, let's say worrying about like lead traffic or like your scripts or just stupid bullshit. Okay. At the end of the day, experience is what's going to teach you. So you want a great system, but you want an efficient and effective system. Okay. That's like going to be the first thing. Okay. So the second thing, mentorship and education. So I always say this, you'll probably hear me fucking preach this multiple different times. There is no shortcut to success, but there is a shortcut. So whoever told you there is no shortcut to success, they lied to you. How is it that there's people out here that are 19 years old, 15 years old, that are making millions of dollars a year? What do you mean? How, like if there is 8-year-old girls baking cookies on YouTube, making millions of dollars a month, you don't think there's a fucking shortcut to success? This whole idea of like, yo, you got to take the road less traveled, you got to grind really hard. Okay, you got to work really hard. There's no such thing as a shortcut to success. That's bullshit. There is shortcuts to success. How do you think there's kids making millions of dollars at like 20 years old, 19 years old? Of course there's a shortcut to success. Like, anybody that doesn't believe in that is just an idiot. Look at around you. There's evidence everywhere. Okay, but where does that shortcut exist? How can you find the shortcut? What is that shortcut? I'm going to tell you what the shortcut is right now. Are you ready? I'm going to tell you what the shortcut is right now. The shortcut to success, and the only known shortcut to success, is mentorship and education. Mentorship and education is the shortcut to success. Seminars, books, audios, classes, courses all serve one purpose in your whole life. It's to compress time. Compress time. Guys, I've made millions of dollars, but I've also invested multiple 6 figures in myself. I've spent thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in events, courses, okay, books. You know, I spent, like, I think recently another like $10,000 on another course. Why? I want to invest in me. I am my biggest asset. I'm not afraid to drop 5 to 10 grand in myself. Anybody that doesn't believe in themselves enough, which is why they're afraid to drop that type of money. So ask yourself the question right now, what you don't know right now, what is that costing you? Okay. Because for me, some people think money's more important. I think time's more important. I don't look at anything in value. I value time more than I value money. So if I know I spend like 25K on a course that's going to save me 2-3 years, that, or 5 years to learn a skill, that is more value to me, the 5 years versus the $25,000. I'll go make $25,000 trading. I'll go make $25,000 in sales. I'll go make $25,000, whatever the fuck I'm doing. I don't give a fuck about 25 grand. You know what I do give a fuck about is the 5 years I would have to try to guess to figure out what the hell I'm doing. That means that I don't value my 5 years. And guess what? Do you think a billionaire values or a millionaire values his 5 years, or do you think they're okay, or do you think they value money? They don't value the money as much as they value the years. Okay, a 18-year-old kid is richer than a 50-year-old man that has millions of dollars. Why? That 15-year-old kid has something that millionaire will never have, and that is time. Time, the most valuable asset in the world. So to compress it, okay, what do you need? You need mentorship and education. Things like this, what we do here in the Vault, like consistent calls like this to open up your mind. This is like the first step to kind of get you to like, hey, look, open up your mind. Understand that you're opening up your mind to growth. That's the first step. Some people don't even get there. Some people are watching fucking, okay, cartoons right now in their fucking like pajamas chilling. That's them. Okay, they might be stuck there. It might take them another 5-10 years. That's fine. You're different. Okay. And the reason why I study growth and why it's so important is because if you look at nature, look at like human nature, look at the reality that we live in today. Okay. Nothing in nature is stagnant. It's always growing or dying, right? Growth is consistent. A tree grows to its maximum capacity. Life, everything in life grows to its maximum capacity. So growth, like I said, is limitless. Think of it like that. Growth is limitless. So I want you to look at your life limitless, man. Like, even after death, growth is limitless, right? So I want you to think in that concept here, okay? Think in that concept here when it comes to, okay, your income, your life, your experiences. Don't block your blessings trying to remain, okay, who you are today, okay? Right? Do not block your blessings who you are today. Remember, King Solomon, the wealthiest king that ever lived in the world, right? Wealthiest king, he asked for wisdom. There's a reason for it. Okay. Last thing. Last time I'm going to tell you guys here, and I'm going to let you guys go here. If you guys got value here, I need you guys to drop that. All right. In the Discord. In the Discord. Okay. Belief and then self-respect. Haven't done this in a minute. Okay. Belief and self-respect. Okay. Your life right now, okay, is a direct reflection of what you believe you deserve. Right. Your life right now is a direct reflection of what you believe you deserve, okay? It expresses your belief level. So whatever reality you are in today is a direct reflection of what you believe you deserve, your perception of the world, and your belief level, okay? So a lot of times people tend to limit themselves and their thinking, and they live in restriction rather than expansion. I'm going to say that again. A lot of times people live in restriction rather than expansion. I look at wealth, I look at love as a birthright, and society has manipulated people into accepting poverty. And you could study this throughout history. What was it that, okay, people used to do like thousands of years ago to slaves? They used to make sure that they didn't read. They used to talk down on them. Why? They tried to have them. They would manipulate, the higher ups would manipulate people into accepting poverty in the belief they had no power and they had no ability to do more. Okay, but you got to study why this happened. Okay, you have to study what happened in the past in order to kind of unlock the secrets of like the world today. So this is what I'm going to tell you here on the call. This is the last thing. I just want you to leave this call here and respect yourself. Okay, do not tolerate failure. What I see here that happens too often, because guys, I've mentored multiple people to a 6-figure income here. Not one time. I've done it dozens of times. So I've mentored a lot of people. And from what I've noticed is a lot of times people, the difference from the 6 or 7-figure earner is their lack of self-respect. They don't really tolerate themselves, or they tolerate failure too much. Okay. And they allow failure to like settle in, and they make it part of their comfort zone. So a prime example, a lot of times people will say, hey, look, they'll set out a goal. Like, we're coming towards a new year. They're going to say, new goal, new me. I want to make 6 figures this year. I want to make $1 million this year. I want to have 1,000 orders for my business here. I want to hit a 6-figure income trade. Whatever their goal is, they'll have a goal for the year. And what tends to happen is they'll get to like month 3, they'll run and they'll start to see that they're hitting some roadblocks, they're hitting some failures, they'll start to discourage themselves. And they'll start to allow failure to settle in. They'll start to say, hey, look, you know what? I didn't hit that six-figure year, that $1,000, that 1,000 orders. I didn't lose the 20 pounds, but I think I lost the 5 pounds. I lost, I made 20 orders or 50 orders. I'm making 50K a year. I'm good. They'll allow a little bit of success and allow that little bit of failure to settle in, and they'll start to tolerate mediocrity. Okay. And a lot of this here happens because of a lack of self-respect. They don't really respect themselves. Okay. They set out a goal that they want to accomplish here, and they don't want to hit that goal because they have no real self-respect about who they are inside. Okay. So I tell you this, don't convince yourself that a mediocre life is a good enough life. Why would you limit yourself? Why would you do that? Okay. I see people all the time. Bro, life's not all about money, bro. Life's not all about money, bro. Relax. I'm like, bro, you're coping with yourself. You have to tell yourself that, because, like, dude, clearly you're not making fucking money. Okay. Clearly you're not making money. I see it all the time too. People are saying, hey, bro, life's not all about work. Life's not all about this. Life's all about this. It's about this. It's about being happy. Well, life really isn't you for you to tell me what you believe it is or decide. But a lot of life boils back down into, hey, look, having self-respect in your view of the world and your purpose and experiences. That's what I really believe, right? Experiences, and having that self-respect with that belief. So guys, that's what I'll say. The 3 things to elevate right now: effective, efficiency, and efficiency and effort in your business. That's going to be number 1. Number 2, mentorship and education in order to compress that time to get you to where you want to go. And then number 3, belief and self-respect. Hey, check this out, guys. If you got value on the call, okay, if you got value on the call, don't let me know here. Okay, don't let me know here. Let me know in the Discord chat here. Let me know in the Discord chat what kind of value you got on the call. Go on the global chat here and drop 1 or 2 things that you learned, okay, on this call. I would love it. I would appreciate it. I would love to see what kind of value you guys are getting here, because I think it would be very important, very effective, okay, for you to now reflect on some of this information and allow it to kind of seep in and grow. And we're going to be doing these calls consistently here every single Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time here, now a part of the Vault. It's going to be consistent. There's going to be different topics here. Guys, I've been through it all. You know what I mean? I've been through, okay, some really, really big highs, but also some very, very small lows. I don't come from money. I remember my first business out of a dorm room. I failed in 3 or 4 different businesses before I was able to hit a successful one. And even after I hit a successful one, I had to do at least 2 or 3 other businesses that failed in order for me to now have another successful 2 or 3 businesses. So I've built multiple different businesses. I've done this. Okay, I've seen what it's like to be in complete debt. I've seen what it's like to hit my first 6 figures, first 7 figures, then multiple 7. Okay, now I'm moving towards 8. That's like my goal next. And I've seen the highs and lows of everything, guys. So I'm going to just tell you full blown on these calls what kind of experiences we've been through, how we can help you grow, because that's what this personal development call is really about. And we're going to talk about different principles here. So I appreciate y'all, love y'all, and I will talk to you soon. Go in the Discord chat and drop what you learned, okay, if you're in that Discord chat, or send me a message on Instagram. Make sure what you learned. Make sure you're in that Discord chat and drop what you learned. We're going to have consistent calls like this. Appreciate y'all, love y'all, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good one. Peace.